Good morning, Detective Tarpon. Please state your name for the court.
Dana Tarpon.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a detective within the Harris County Sheriff's Office Crimes Against Children's Division.
And how long have you served that office?
16 years.
And what do you do as a detective?
I investigate crimes against children, child abuse, child sexual abuse, kidnapping involving children, murders and domestic disputes.
Okay, and how did you become familiar with Sarah's case?
I was called to the Salmon household by a patrol officer on August 14th, 2002. This officer received a report of a missing child, and once it was discovered that she was in fact missing, I began working the case.
Okay, and what time did you arrive to the Salmon house that morning?
8:30.
Okay, and what did you do upon arrival?
Well, the house was secured at that point, but I did notice that nothing was disturbed inside the home. However, Sarah's bedroom window was open and the screen was missing.
Okay, and how did your investigation begin?
I first spoke with the parents individually, and then some of the neighbors, except for Casey Fish, who refused to speak to me. And then I had the crime scene team, that's for fingerprints and DNA.
Okay, and what did Mr. Salmon say in his interview?
He said that he and his wife and Sarah were home the prior evening. Nothing occurred that evening, no fights or any discipline.
Okay, and did he say anything about when he last saw her?
He checked on her at 10 p.m. after she had gone to bed and she was sleeping. When he went to wake her up at 6:30 a.m., she was missing and they could not find her anywhere.
And you noticed the window was open. Did you ask him about that?
Yes, he said the family often slept with open windows.
And did you have any suspicion that she may have ran away?
Well, given her age, I did. However, I could not find any motive for that, and Mr. Samuel already said sleeping with a cracked window was normal.
Okay, and did you find any blood or DNA in her bedroom?
No, it was undisturbed besides the window and its screen having been removed.
Okay, and what did, transitioning to Mrs. Salmon, what did she say in her interview?
Well, she confirmed what Mr. Salmon had said, that the night before was uneventful. Sarah came home from school on time, wasn't upset about anything, and she was just herself. But they did notice how she did her homework without complaining, which wasn't normal for her.
Okay, and did she explain that any further?
Well, yeah, she said that Sarah would often be lazy and wouldn't apply herself in school, which would upset Mr. Salmon because in order for Sarah to go to his alma mater, she needed better grades than B's and C's.
Okay, and based on your knowledge and experience as a law enforcement official, did you draw any conclusions based off of your interviews with her parents?
Yes, Mr. and Miss Salmon were clearly upset over Sarah's disappearance, and they seemed to be very caring, concerned, and involved parents in her life.
Okay, and who else did you interview after that?
I spoke with neighbors.
Okay, and what did they tell you?
They spoke very highly of the Salmons. They said that they were a wonderful family and that Sarah was smart and polite. The Salmons were involved and they attended all the neighborhood picnics.
Okay, and did you ask them specifically about Mr. and Miss Salmon?
Yes, they were very impressed with Mr. Salmon and described him as caring, interested, and attentive.
Okay, and did they, in the course of your investigation, reveal any other information that they may have observed?
Yes, the technicians were able to get Sarah's fingerprints on a child registry form and her hair from a hairbrush for DNA. And the neighbors also mentioned how Mr. Gruber's motorhome was in front of his home the night prior, but on the morning of Sarah's disappearance, it was gone.
Okay, and are you familiar with Mr. Gruber as a law enforcement official?
Yes, I knew Mr. Gruber is a registered sex offender with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. So given that and the timing of the missing motorhome and Sarah's disappearance, I wanted to investigate further.
Okay. Your Honor, let the record reflect I'm showing opposing counsel what has been previously marked as Prosecution's Exhibit B. Your Honor, may I approach? And would Your Honor like a courtesy copy? Detective Tarpon, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as Prosecution's Exhibit B, a one-page, one-sided document. Have you seen this before?
Yes.
Hasn't been changed or altered in any way since you last saw it?
No.
And it's in the same or substantially similar condition?
Yes.
Could you please tell the court what this document is?
Yes, it's Mr. Gruber's sex offender registration that, amongst his basic information, identifies his place of employment and the date and place of each conviction.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, we offer Exhibit B into evidence. And Detective Tarpon, how are these forms collected?
Sex offenders must complete these forms within 2 days of moving into town. So upon moving, Mr. Grouper came and completed this form in front of the desk officer who confirmed his identity and input the information into the computer's registry. Mr. Grouper's photo was also taken for additional ID and this information was filed away.
Okay, and transitioning back to your interest in the missing motorhome, how did you begin your investigation of Mr. Grouper?
Well, although he refused to speak to me, he did allow me to search his home.
Okay, and what did that search reveal?
I found what appeared to be drops of blood in the basement, which were obtained by a crime scene tech, and said tech discovered that it was blood and it matched Sarah's DNA positively.
Okay, and in the course of your investigation, did you interview any businesses or restaurants?
Well, 3 days after her going missing, the office received a call from a 7-Eleven clerk reporting an abandoned motorhome on the side of the store that they wanted towed. Responding to this, we later discovered that this was Mr. Grouper's motorhome.
Okay, and what did you do with that motorhome?
Mr. Grouper consented to a search of the motorhome, and we once again found blood that tested positive against Sarah's DNA. We additionally found her fingerprints and Mr. Grouper's fingerprints. There were other prints there, but they were unidentifiable.
Okay, and did you speak any further with the 7-Eleven clerk?
Yes, she said that she recalled that it was around the night of the 14th that she was working, and she was able to pick Mr. Grouper's photo out of a lineup, remembering that he had been in the store the night of her disappearance.
Okay, and to clarify, was it the 13th or the 14th, Detective Tarpon?
The 14th.
Okay, the morning of.
Yes.
And you said that was at 3 a.m.?
Yes.
Thank you. And did she have any interactions with Mr. Grouper?
Yes, she said that she recalled that it was around 3 a.m. and she was asked if there were any buses that would travel through town. And she found that to be really odd.
Okay, and was Sarah's body eventually discovered?
Yes, the case came to an unfortunate pinnacle. It was about a week later when hikers found a decomposing body in the desert about a mile out of town. The medical examiner ended up identifying this body to Sarah Salmon.
Okay, and Sarah's body, where was it in relation to her home and the 7-Eleven?
It was a half mile off Halfway 202, 50 yards from a frequently traveled dirt track.
Your Honor, let the record reflect I am showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Prosecution's Exhibit C. Your Honor, may I approach? Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy? Detective Tarpon, I'm showing you what has been marked as Prosecution's Exhibit C, a one-page, one-sided document. Have you seen this before?
Yes, I created it.
And is it in the same or substantially similar condition as when you last saw it?
Yes.
Hasn't been altered or changed?
No.
Thank you. And could you tell the court what this document is?
This is a not-to-scale map of Tahoe I drew that depicts the relation of Sarah's home to the 7-Eleven and where her body was found.
Okay, and do you rely on this as a law enforcement official?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, we offer Exhibit C into evidence. Permission to publish to the jury? Thank you. What does each point depict, Detective Tarpon?
A is Sarah's home. B is Grouper's home. C is the 7-Eleven, and D is the place where she was located. A and D are approximately 15 miles apart. C and D are approximately 1 mile apart.
Thank you. And could you share what the crime scene technicians discovered at point D, where her body was found?
Sarah's hands were bound behind her back, and there was evidence that she was gagged. There were also tire tracks that were later identified to be an exact match for Mr. Grouper's motorhome.
And based on this evidence, what were your next actions?
Based on the totality of the evidence pointing to only Mr. Grouper, we arrested Mr. Grouper and charged him with the kidnapping and murder of Sarah Salmon.
Okay, did he make any statements upon request or upon arrest?
Grouper began to blame David Mackerel for her death. However, no results came back from the National Crime Information Center. A license was located for an individual with this name outside of Reno. However, the address was not current and we were never able to locate him.
Okay.
We also searched health records.
And what did your search reveal?
There was a record of a David Mackerel that was a registered nurse with the same address as on the license, but he was never employed as a nurse in Lodestar, nor could his identity ever be confirmed.
Nothing further, Your Honor.